Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Everyone is chasing the AI chip trade right now. Nvidia, TSMC, SK Hynix. These names come up in every conversation right now, every portfolio, every analysis report. But here's the thing, these are the winner of the first stage of my framework and the third stage from my framework, the one that is actually unfolding right now has a completely different winner and most investors haven't cashed out yet. And what is this company? This company is Tokyo Electron. And today I want to show you why it might be the most important semiconductor equipment company like for the next 3 or 5 years. And firstly, I would like to talk about my framework of the AI chip industry. Let me walk you through a framework. The AI chip boom isn't just like a one smooth wave. I think it has like 3 distinct stages, and each one with a different bottleneck and a different set of winner. Let's get back to the first stage. I think I will call it as a training arm race. Let's get back to 2023 and 2024, right? At that time, we got the large language model exploding, like the GPT-4, right? Like the Gemini, the Claude, and everyone is scrambling for GPUs. And the capital flow was really straightforward. The massive compass into the GPUs, which means that more demand for the advanced chip manufacturing. And that's the reason why you see the stock price of Nvidia, TSMC, and ASML is so crazy, right? We have all experienced that. And at that time, we know that the winner, Nvidia is for the chip, and TSMC is for the manufacturing, ASML is for the tools, right? And then we move to the stage 2. In our channel, we talk about the memory, right? And we have talked about how important the HBM will be. So I think the start point is last year, 2025, and the GPU got fast enough, and after that, okay, we found out there's a bandwidth war. The data couldn't be fed into the processor fast enough. We have to figure it out. The solution is HBM. If you are interested, you can check back my previous video, and I have talked about that. And right now, I'm going to give you a short summary. Like the HBM is, it will stack like DRAM chips 8 to 12 layer with high using through silicon vias. And think of this, you can think of like you have a supercar, right? The trick, but the fuel pipe is too thin, right? And you would like to make it faster. And HBM makes the fuel pipe like wider by stacking the memory vertically. That's how the HBM actually is. So the winner we have talked about before, right? The SK Hynix, right? And the BSI and Micron and Samsung. So I think it is still the stage 2, and it might just continue like 3, 4, 5 years. But at the same time, I will call it is another stage. It's like stage 3, and I think the reason why I call it stage 3 is I think it can make a longer time for the engineer to handle it, and this is where the market hasn't like the fully catch up. The AI actually is shifting from the training to inference. Okay, I will tell you what I think. Actually, I think it's very important. It's very easy to understand. Is what is called training. Training is like teaching a student to read the entire library. You do it at once. That's how the GPT and Gemini and Claude they use in the training process. So what is like the inference? The inference is like having a student, they answer the question from hundreds of millions of users every day and non-stop. And at the same time, the chips are hitting a physical wall, like a physical wall. We have been shrinking transistor for 50 years. We are approaching atomic scale. You can shrink further. So the industrial, they have to figure it out, right? And the solution is like they are going to vertical. Like they stacking the logic chip on top of each other, just like we stack memory and HBM. So this stage, they need a complete different kind of equipment, and then that's where Tokyo Electron comes in. So let me explain why going vertical change everything about like the semiconductor equipment. For 50 years, you can see these pictures. For the last 50 years, the chip industry just did one thing. They would like to make the room smaller. Imagine a floor plan where each room is a transistor, and every few years, the engineer figure out how to shrink the rooms, like fitting more transistors on the same area. That's Moore's law, right? You have heard about this term, the Moore's law. But now, the rooms are nearly atom size. It's pretty small. You can, or there's nowhere left to shrink. So instead of making the room smaller, you have to change, right? You start building floors. And now the logic chips, the one that actually compute, are going vertical now. And here's the critical insight: like building a single-story house and building a skyscraper require completely different construction equipment. And more importantly, when you build a skyscraper, you cannot build all the floors and do all the wiring, right? You have to wire each floor as you build it. And in chip terms, every time you stack a new layer, you repeat the front end process. You have to deposit material, cut, expose, etch, and clean. The traditional 2D chip, the traditional 2D chip, just go through this cycle just once. But how about the 3D chip? We talk about the vertical one. You have to repeat like 3 or 5 times. So what does it mean? It means that company that provides the full set of construction tools from foundation to rooftop have a massive structural advantage, and there only one company can handle it. That is Tokyo Electron. That's the reason why I spend a lot of time researching this company. And then let me talk about that. Everybody knows about ASML, right? I think a lot of people know ASML because of the lithography monopoly. But very few people realize that without Tokyo Electron, ASML's machines are not too good, right? Here's why. Let's imagine that a lithography machine works by projecting a circuit, like projecting a circuit pattern onto a silicon wafer using the light. But before the light hit the wafer, you have to need someone to coat it with like a photosensitive material. And after the light hits, someone needs to develop that material to reveal the pattern, right? So I think through this process, you can consider ASML as a camera, and Tokyo Electron makes the field. So let me ask you, if you don't have the field, how do you get a photo, right? This process is called coat and develop. So right now, the Tokyo Electron, they has like about 90% global market share. That's the same level of the manipulate as ASML in lithography. But here's what makes the Tokyo Electron more unique. It's the only company that in the world cover all the 4 sequential patterning. process, including the deposition, code and develop, etch and cleaning. And other companies just like specialize in just one or two, but TL does all four. And then let's talk about their synapse machine. You can think of as a very like a super glue and super precise stickers. You can see this picture. What does it do? Like it can take two super thin silicon wafers that already have tiny circuits on them and light them up perfectly. You can see this picture, right? Perfectly, like just matching two pieces of paper. So every dot light up exactly. Then it sticks them together forever in a very clean, in a very strong way. And this lets the top up and the bottom chips talk to each other super fast using like the super short connection. That's exactly what the new X or the latest AI chip is. That and then let's talk about the another crazy and cool technology is called the laser lithography. So you can see here. Normally, after you glue two wafers together, right, you have to grind and sand away the extra thick silicon on top to make it super thin. So that's messy. And you have to use tons of water to break things and wait and water the. You have to waste the material, but the Tokyo Electron's new way, they shot a powerful laser that magically peels the extra silicon layer cleanly and almost no grinding. Just use very little water, less damage. So what does it mean? It means that it can save their money. It save the environment. It made the whole process more reliable. So that's the reason why they are pretty cool in the 3D stacking era. So my point here is like I think ASML as TSMC's eyes, it determines how fine the detail can be, but the Tokyo Electron is more like a TSMC's hands. It determines how precisely those details are executed. You might be able to walk around not having the best eyes. Some tricks use some older DUV lithography with multiple patterning, but you cannot work without hands, right? Every single wafer, regardless of the nodes, goes through TL's code and developer, etch and cleaning equipment. Yeah, that is Tokyo Electron. And then let's go back to this part. That is one of the most people they miss this part. Now the market is still using the training error logic to evaluate their semiconductor equipment, and the training error logic is like you make each chip as powerful as possible, right? That means that you have to use the most expensive lithography machine, and that's the reason why ASML benefits the most. But right now, we are like moving into the inference era. The logic is a little bit different. You have to need massive quantities of chips, not just a few ultra powerful one. Like training GPT-5, like they require tens of thousands of GPUs and run once. Serving hundreds of millions of users daily, they have to require them to order more chips, and they have to running continuously. And inference chips like diversified, like the Google, they gather like the TPUs. Amazon, like they have their Trainian. Apple's have their own, like it's called neutron engine and stuff like that. So not everyone is using the Nvidia's. Not all the people they have to use Nvidia's GPU. But here's the thing: most people they will still consider Nvidia's GPU as the default. But no matter what, no matter you are building your GPU or building your own like your own chips, no matter what, every production line, no matter in Nvidia's GPU, Google's TPU, Amazon's Trainian, Apple's, right? They need Tokyo Electron's equipment. That's the reason why it make like Tokyo Electron so valuable. And then let's talk about some old story, right? I think Tokyo Electron isn't just like an isolated company. It's more like a product of 40 years Japanese semiconductor equipment evolution. In the 1980s, Japan, they have the world's best or the world's leading semiconductor industrial, and then the U.S. pushed back. Like the U.S. set up some trade restriction and political pressure, and Japan's like their manufacturing of chip declined, but the equipment and the material company survive because the U.S. targeting just the chip making, not the tool making. But today, half of the global top 10 semiconductor equipment company are Japanese. TEL, Screen Holding, Disco, etc. So Japan right now, they dominate the invisible layer of the chip supply chain. And this kind of precision manufacturing, you have to build over for decades. You cannot just easily be replaced by throwing money to the problem. And Tokyo Electron Excel plan to invest more and more money in the next couple of years. Then we can see here, I'm going to throw you some numbers here. And in the 2026, ending March 2026, the company guide revenue at around like 2.41 trillion yen is roughly 15.6 billion US dollar based on the recent update and exchange rates. Backed by massive investment, including a 5-year R&D plan, exceeding 1.5 trillion yen to fuel innovation. It leads the sector with 23,000 active patents. Is the highest number in the industrial, and its stock trades is very crazy. A lot of analysis, like they give the buy rating to this company, to the Tokyo Electron. And yeah, that's how crazy it is right now. That's a good signal for the Tokyo Electron. And yeah, we have talked about so much nice thing about Tokyo Electron. Let's talk about some risks, because every company has their risks, right? Okay, the first one is the China's revenue. I think it can be one of the biggest concern for the company, because right now China accounted for roughly like 40%, 30 to 40% of Tokyo Electron's revenue, and it's it can expected to drop to about less than 30% due to the tightening export control. And Tokyo Electron is offsetting this with AI related equipment growth, targeting 40% of revenue from AI application, but losing a third of your customer base is real, and further restriction could accelerate the decline. And then there's a flip side though. As the export control tighten, advanced chip manufacturing concentrates among allied nations like TSMC, Samsung, Intel, like they became the only game in town for cutting-edge chips. And Tokyo Electron, as their primary equipment supplier, actually gains pricing power in the concentrated market. And second, the wafer-to-wafer bonding competition. Actually, in wafer-to-wafer bonding, they are not the winner. They are not the first one. Actually, there's one company called EV Group. EV Group. They are a private company. Is the market leader, but Tokyo Electron right now has about 20% share, and they are growing, but it's not guaranteed that they can reach their 40% target. And thirdly, there's a large cap stock, roughly 10 trillion yen market cap right now, and a lot of people in Japan have talked about this company. So yeah, and yeah. So here's how I see it. I think in the AI chip industry has three stages. Like stage 1, the training arms race made Nvidia ASML the reversely winner, and stage 2 right now the HBM. As you can see how crazy it goes on in the Korean stuff, the SK Hynix, right? And then we are moving into the stage 3. The stage 3 is happening right now, and a lot of people they haven't realized that the chips are going from 2D to 3D. The boundary between front end and the back end manufacturing is disappearing. Inference itself is creating demand for massive chip volumes with complex packaging, and the company best position for this chip is Tokyo Electron, the only equipment maker that spans the entire process from deposing to bonding. And the market is still using training era thinking to evaluate the semiconductor equipment. So when chicks start building outward instead of shrinking cyber, the Rule Chain and the Tokyo Electron company make the tool for the new world. So I think when the chip start building outward instead of shrinking sideways, at that time the rules have changed. Yeah, so what do you think of my video? What do you think of this company? And please drop some comments, and if you like this kind of video, please subscribe and like. I will see you in next video. Thank you so much.